Hey, it's Ed. Welcome to another edition of Lessons from My Mentor. I wanted to do a follow-up from the last episode we did on creating sort of this loving atmosphere, affirming atmosphere in the workplace, because we talked about haters and we talked about assholes. And so wanted to drop some content on how to really build a great culture. And so maybe the most important thing, it's hard because there's so many most important things, but in a sense is the gift of time. So I learned this really from Tom Peters, right? Management guru. And it was required reading when I was in graduate school. The big book at the time, the bestseller, was In Search of Excellence. And actually, to Chime's credit, I recall there was a chime, I don't know when it was, at least 10 years ago, where Tom Peters was the closing keynote. And I think it's the only time I stuck around to the very, very end because this was one of my heroes. But in Search of Excellence, he said something super profound that stuck with me since I started really being a leader and was reinforced certainly as an Army officer. And he said, the day that you left the factory floor and stopped making widgets is the day that you stopped adding bottom line value to your organization, right? Because you were no longer making product for the organization. You went on into management. And so, therefore, your role was really to make the individuals making the widgets as successful as possible. Therefore, you owe them your time. And so don't think of time as a burden that you have to give it away, but look at it as something as maybe the most important thing you can do for those who serve within your organization. And it's the same outside your organization, is to be freely giving with your time, because there's a principle, and I've talked a lot about it on many of the mentoring episodes, where as you pour yourself out to others, more gets poured in. It's just this universal principle. It's also a very spiritual principle. It's like what we tend to do is hold on. We think there's a finite amount, so we hold on to whatever we have, and then it gets old and stagnant, and people that never grow. That's why you have people who are the same at 50-year-old when they were 30. They've never grown. But when you pour it out and give it away, it creates opportunity for more to be poured in. So don't think of your time as finite, like, oh, I got to hold on to my time and I'm so busy already and all that kind of stuff. Actually, if you give it away, you'll get more, as crazy as that sounds. And so I just challenge you to test it. But for sure, if you're a leader and you have a team, you need to be giving your time. And it's not just one time like a lunch program or breakfast. Have breakfast with Ed or run with Ed. I've done all those things and they're really important, but there's just one of many different things that you need to do to give away your time, and it'll come back to you. So if you just use the example of like giving your time to the workforce for those who serve on your teams, the teams are going to become better, which means that it's going to require less of your time in other areas that you would have taken. So think of it in the opposite way that perhaps you were raised to think of it, and that is just to be free, give it all away. Whenever someone calls you, ask for advice, need some help, just be a giver, and it'll change things dramatically. And that's how you set the culture in your organization as well. Because if you start doing it, your leaders that report to you will start doing it, and their leaders will start doing it, and their leaders will start doing it. And you can see how it just transforms an organization. And that's why I've been so blessed. I've been so lucky in my career where I took over many times mediocre IT organizations. And there was nothing magic about what I did in terms of, it wasn't because of me that suddenly, over time, not suddenly, but they started to perform much better. But it happened because we started to see our role as serving those who are actually doing the work and making the widgets, taking care of all the detail. And it just cascaded, the effect just cascaded, and everyone started pouring out. And so as you poured out, you got more in, and it just so happened. Now it's like nirvana where everyone's like into it. No, of course not. But the majority, and it just changed the culture. And we went with the same team of people from a C player to an A player. That's how you do it. And plus, it's just the right thing. Just love, and give. And there's no better way to demonstrate that love than to give your time. All right. Thanks for watching Lessons from My Mentor.